Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're doing something a little bit different. We're applying rigorous literary analysis to decode the viral internet comedy rap known as Yippee Yapper. Now, I know what you're thinking. On the surface, it sounds like an absolutely chaotic, nonsensical jumble of words, but it's actually a deeply fascinating text. Today, we're going to break down the underlying structure, the super aggressive wordplay, and the incredibly bizarre world building hiding right in plain sight within these lyrics. To make sense of it all, we'll structure our exploration into 5 key themes: the art of nonsense vocabulary, the anatomy of the rhyme scheme, shifting role-play dynamics, the scatological motifs, and finally, the laws of cartoon physics.
All right, let's jump straight into Section 1, the art of nonsense vocabulary, decoding the absurd.
To truly get this text, we have to look at the author's relentless creation of a completely original, albeit totally absurd, lexicon. The writer doesn't just use standard slang. He invents a brand new language right on the fly. Take this line, for example. "Make a me math twerk, yippee her." He forcefully introduces these context-free statements without any warning whatsoever. He doesn't pause to explain what making math twerk means or what the specific act of yipping someone entails. As the audience, we're basically thrown right into the deep end of his linguistic pool and forced to swim.
Because he gives us absolutely zero definitions, we have to play detective and rely entirely on contextual clues for a word like yippee. What's wild is how it functions as both a verb and a noun. In the text, the narrator commands a partner to grip the yippee shaft, but also refers to the titular yippee yapper. It's this incredibly versatile piece of nonsense that actually serves as the absolute foundation for the song's totally bizarre shifting anatomy.
And just when you think you've got a handle on it, the linguistic invention continues with a rapid-fire succession of equally undefined terminology. In a single breath, we get hit with a dippy, a bladder used in a highly unconventional sense, a blicky, and a resulting splatter. The pacing of these new words is absolutely relentless. It demands your full attention just to track the unfolding scenario.
By treating dippy as a formal noun, we can actually start to track the physical geometry of the bizarre acts being described. Later on, he laments that his partner broke his dippy, and even drops a reference to an old dirty dippy bastard. So it's a physical, fragile object. We're slowly learning the rigid rules of his universe purely through these incredibly chaotic context clues.
Moving right along to Section 2, Anatomy of the Rhyme Scheme, the relentless suffix.
This brings us to the song's primary comedic engine. It's an aggressive, almost Dr. Seuss-style metric structure that drives the momentum forward and glues all that nonsense together. This brilliantly illustrates the sheer rhythmic discipline of the author, anchoring the absurdity to a highly predictable suffix structure. Notice how rhyme families A, B, and C rely entirely on those apper and adder sounds. You get crapper, scrapper, chapper, right alongside flapper, yapper, clapper, and then splatter, batter, chatter. It's a dizzying percussive vocal delivery that literally forces completely bizarre vocabulary to sound incredibly catchy.
Early on, the author uses simple numbers to establish this rhythm. For example, he mentions his wife's coffee tasting like a toothache and casually states he only needs 2 shakes to wiggle it. Using the number 2 establishes this bouncy, almost innocent nursery rhyme cadence, and that sharply contrasts with the incredibly crude lyrical content that immediately follows.
Next up is Section 3, Roleplay and Character Dynamics, Shifting Identities.
The text gets even more complex when the narrator and his partner begin rapidly adopting different character personas. It turns the lyrics into this wild, multi-character theatrical performance. The crucial point here is how the characters pivot wildly to escalate the tension of the scene. One moment, we get intense religious themes where she is the missionary and he's the pastor. Then, out of nowhere, they shift directly to medical roleplay, where she becomes a bad nurse and he's the doctor who has to do her path first. The identities are highly fluid, keeping us completely off balance. To add to the chaos, the narrator constantly assigns arbitrary identities and obscure pop culture references to himself and others. He proudly calls himself a certified goofball. He references a nosy neighbor by simply calling him Snoop. His partner coughs, so suddenly she becomes a hacker. They put on makeup like an actor. And my absolute favorite part, he declares himself a whoopee catcher and actually takes the time to explicitly clarify that no, he does not mean the actor's Whoopi Goldberg.
Now we have to tackle Section 4, Scatology and Crude Motifs, the Grotesque Reality.
To fully grasp the text, we must impartially examine the intensely scatological themes that permeate the second half of the lyrics and note exactly how they're used for rapid comedic escalation. The author's commitment to crude shock value is relentless. Just listen to this line, "I'll eat the Nutella and peanuts out her ass." We are looking at this with complete analytical detachment. The author is utilizing visceral, highly specific food imagery, Nutella and peanuts, combined with stark scatological references to provoke an immediate and likely disgusted comedic reaction.
This escalating list shows the sheer physical impossibility of the acts being described. He threatens to put a dippy in her bladder, tuck my whippy in her back, and wash my super soaker in her guppy like a yuppie. The language basically evolves into a barrage of grotesque, anatomically confusing imagery. It pushes the boundaries of standard crude humor right into the realm of outright surrealism.
Which brings us perfectly to our final part, Section 5, the laws of cartoon physics, justifying the chaos.
As the physical descriptions become increasingly impossible, the text actually becomes completely self-aware of its own absurdity. A voice interjects in the lyrics to literally announce that the narrator is operating outside the laws of physics. It's this brilliant moment of meta-commentary. He's breaking the fourth wall to assure us that yes, the madness is entirely intentional.
The author explicitly cites cartoon physics later in the text as the core mechanism allowing this completely bizarre world to function. This is exactly how he's able to smash his partner like a potato masher, fire lippies and some batter, and utilize nonsensical items like a blizzy blaster. He is quite literally treating himself and his partner like Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner. These steps map out the literal, chronological sequence of a cartoon physics event occurring right there in the text. It starts with a nonsensical action hitting her lip jeans in his matter. Somehow, this causes things to come to life, complete with baby laughter in the background, and culminates in a literal explosion via a blizzy blaster. I mean, it reads exactly like the storyboard for a Looney Tunes sketch.
Let's conclude our thematic analysis with the author's final philosophical thesis. He links his earlier scatological themes right back to his own innate greatness. He acknowledges his partner might be the shit, but asserts his own absolute superiority by claiming he lights a match first. He's metaphorically stating he has been lit since its birth. It's a remarkably structured punchline to a deeply chaotic song. So we have to ask ourselves, is Yippee Yapper merely crude nonsense, or is it a masterclass in absurd literary escalation? I'll leave you with this final thought to ponder as you reflect on the unique structural brilliance hiding beneath the absolute chaos of this internet artifact. What seems like pure madness is actually held together by strict rhyme schemes, shifting theatrical roleplay, and the explicit invocation of cartoon physics. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep questioning the absurd.